everybody. Welcome back to another episode of All Caught Up with G&D. You have me today, your usual host, Nina, and we also have Enzo here.
Hi, everybody.
I don't know where I'm pointing, if he's to my left or my right. But today we're going to be talking about what is probably the second to the last episode of this series, where we're going to be talking about The Last of Us, as if we haven't had the last 8 weeks to talk about it. I'm pretty sure you guys are, all caught up with it. Disclaimer again, if you have not seen the last 7 episodes prior to this one, this is a full spoiler review / discussion in regards to the episode and all of its content and otherwise. Maybe light and or heavy spoilers for what might be season 2 or The Last of Us 2 game. So yeah, might as well do the disclaimer. I feel like the fact that it took me 8 weeks to just remind people that that's the case, even though I'm pretty sure, I'm surprised you're here at 8 and not 1
right.
when we first started, but whatever. We'll put a disclaimer prior to saying anything in regards to anything in the future. But anyway, moving on. This was an episode. Yeah. I mean, obviously I'm the one who has not played the game fully, and Enzo is the one here who's played it multiple times, I'm pretty sure. For me, I was like, at this point, I think I told people already, Henry and Sam was as far as I remember in the game. And even Henry and Sam was really fuzzy in my head. So this whole thing, I only remember being one mention in a TikTok where it's like, blah, 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 David. And I was like, I have no fucking idea who this David is. And, Enzo, I gotta ask you, how did you find... I think you knew what was coming for this episode, so how did you find this episode?
I was excited to see how they would change up David from the game and to see Troy Baker make his... I wouldn't say cameo.
Yes, it was Troy Baker's episode, you're right.
Yeah, just guest star as this NPC in the game. And this is the part in the game where they force you to be stealthy. So I was like, I wonder how they're gonna make...
Yeah, because you're now a little girl that cannot fight.
Yeah. So I'm like, what are we gonna do here? And usually by the end of the episode, I was like, I always consider maybe I should rewatch it just to refresh it. But now I'm just like, you know what? Especially for the end, I was like, you know what? I'm good. I can remember well.
Yeah. For me, because I came into this episode with no fucking idea. The only thing at this point was just I even forgot this was Troy Baker's episode. Personally, if only because I forgot that he was gonna come up, and I was like, we're in episode 8 and we haven't seen Troy Baker because everyone was talking about it at one point. And I was like, I couldn't get away from it. So I did not realize this is going to be Troy Baker's episode until he showed up. And I'm surprised that I didn't know because there's only 2 episodes left. So I was like, okay, interesting. And so I was like, okay, what's going to happen here? We start the episode and we have a very religious group. And I'm like, oh, trauma! Oh, religious trauma! Oh my God! I was like, oh my God. And it was so funny because I was like, oh yeah, and so you were gonna say something?
I was about to say it's just something we're very familiar with.
We're very familiar with, and I was like, oh my God! Closes his eyes and opens them through squinting. But I was like, okay, interesting. And I was like, is this the beginning, the end? How far are we? Are we present or past? And it looks like no, we're in the present. We're in winter, and what else am I missing? We get introduced to this whole thing, and it's Troy Baker talking to this guy named David. There's what was he saying? He was like, there's a little girl and a guy and a man traveling, and he killed one of our guys. And I was like, okay, well, they started it though.
Right?
Yeah, well, they gotta stab Joel first. So why are we mad? Huh? Why are we mad, right? And so, how did you... And then what happens after that? And then we go back to Ellie, right?
Yeah. They're trying to take care of the problem of not having enough food for the entire day.
Yeah, there was there's not enough food. And I was like, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, I was like, so there was like, I feel like this episode was like all the tension in the fucking world.
Yeah.
And I remember like all throughout it just hyperventilating because like I was just like, I don't know where this is going. Like this is the first time in an episode where I have no fucking idea, like truly like zero idea of where this was going. You know, I knew that at one point Joel was gonna get hurt. I knew that at one point they were gonna fight. But like this whole episode was like the biggest blank in my head, and I was like, I see why everything was blanking in my head. But like from then on, we get introduced. So I think what's really important to talk about, and we can like talk about the smaller details later, is like the interactions between. Okay, there's a number of things that we have to see. So there's the interactions between Ellie and David, which I think is really, really huge. On top of the fact that this was just another Ellie episode. Like, we got Ellie from the last episode in the past, and now we have Ellie currently. You know, we see what's driving her to make sure that Joel stays alive. And then now we have somebody, you know, we have another guy coming up. And how did you feel, Enzo? Because I checked the clips after the fact, and I was like, this man does not look like anybody. If anything, I said, this dude looks like Van Gogh. The fuck? The fuck?
Right? Like, David here is very different from David in the game. Like, as far as I remember, David's not a preacher either in the game. So like,
no, he's not. They changed that apparently.
Yeah, seeing him here, I was like, this is an interesting twist. I wonder how they're going to play into this, or how it will change how I remember David from the game. And they do. Also, like, when the guy tells the woman who's cooking, he's like, oh, it's just venison. We're like,
venison.
We're like,
It's
that's
like,
bullshit.
it's venison. Well, actually, I didn't think anything of it. Because I was like, in my head, right? Because, okay, so this is for people who don't know already. So, like, we're going to skip a little bit ahead. We know that they're fucking cannibals by the end of it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we know, but, like, by the last third of the episode, they're cannibals. I forgot that, I knew there were cannibals in the fucking Edo, but I had no idea. And, like, I don't know what's up with, like, shows. Like, I mean, I know what's up with shows in, like, zombie movies. Zombie media, period, for whatever reason, given a certain amount of time, people eventually become cannibals. Some groups become cannibals at some point. And I was like, I forgot that it happens. I just didn't realize it was going to be this group. And in my head, I was like, oh, they have meat. Oh, that means like Troy Baker and David already got back, right? Like they already got the deer in my head. So I didn't think much of it. So I was like, whatever. And then I was like, oh, this is the cannibal group. Like by that point, I was like, oh, they're the cannibals. Yeah. And I hate to say it, somehow the cannibalism was like the mildest thing to come out of this episode. Right. I don't know about you, Enzo, but it was the least shocking thing to come out.
Yeah.
Like the least traumatizing thing. Yeah.
Like back in the day, that was the most shocking thing. It's like, oh shit, they're cannibals. Because it's not until like later on you're like, oh shit, they're chopping up humans. Okay, that's pretty bad. But like as you said here, you're like, oh, there's some more. Oh no.
And it feels like 10 times more traumatizing.
Yeah.
For me, at least, I was like, okay, at some point the cannibalism, maybe because of the fact that like I have seen multiple pieces of media use cannibalism to be the plot twist for a lot of things. Like, you know, there's The Walking Dead with Lee in the first season, that The Walking Dead video game. There's Until Dawn, because Until Dawn, spoiler alert, you know, they turn into Wendigos because they eat people. You know, like, it's become one of the more milder plot twists now. Like, you have to be a cannibal, and you can't just be a cannibal to be a cannibal anymore.
Yeah, I wish Drummer was here, because me and he agree that the David section when everything's on fire is the most terrifying thing, because you're like, oh shit, if I don't escape, I'm gonna get eaten. But like now you're like, oh shit, if things don't go down, bad things will go down. Very
bad things, which we will get to at a certain point. We will get to later. But I think it's important that because I don't know about you, but I'm like, I don't know about people who came into this completely blind, because I already had an idea that this guy is going to be relevant some way, somehow, in the sense that like David is like, you see this, he's like this de facto leader. He's supposedly really calm, really charismatic, and and it was just kind of like, you feel like you should have your guard down, but there's something about him that is just completely off. Like it's like uncanny valley for personalities in the sense that there is something consistently wrong with him and in the way that he speaks. And I really am impressed by the fact that they got a really great actor to deliver lines, and the writing, again, amazing. That between him and Ellie were very, very full of tense. Because oftentimes with tense moments in shows or movies for me, I'm like, well, it's tense, it's supposed to be tense, but I didn't realize it was tense until the scene where they were talking in front of the fire was done, and I was like, shit, I'm still just as scared, because he fully reveals, we know that there is a man out there traveling with a girl. And how often do you hear that? Because they're not near any QZs, they're not near any settlements that they know of, because Jackson is completely cut off for the moment, you know. So it only makes sense that you know that it's Ellie and Joel, and I was like, oh shit! Like, we fully lost somebody. Like they know they lost somebody to Ellie and Joel, and Joel is like fucking out of it. So Ellie's the only one who, and like you feel this sense of like helplessness, because for as much as we like to think, oh, Ellie's really strong, but it's like Ellie's never been alone before. Ellie has never been this alone before. Like, at least in the QZ, if something were to happen, Fedra, for as much as we hate them, Fedra could control it.
Yeah.
But you're in the middle of fucking nowhere, butt-fuck nowhere in winter. No one is going to save you. So, but how did you feel though, Enzo? Like, seeing their exchange, like when they were both alone.
I love that scene when he's like, everything happens for a reason. Like,
The way that he said that, I was like, I wish people could see. If you're not listening to us, if you're only listening, the faces I'm making. Go ahead, I'm so sorry.
It's like there's a crazy man killing our people, and he's with a little girl, and like it's exactly how it goes down in the game, where you're like, oh shit, he's talking about us. Oh no, what do we do?
He's talking about us. Yeah, he's like, oh no, he's talking about us. And I have like thoughts where it's like, I think I have thoughts, but I'll bring it up later in regards to it. But it's just like, wow, this is the consequence of killing people.
And
wow.
I don't know if you noticed, but like in the game, the guy is voiced by Nolan North. So you're like,
wow,
who are they going to find to fill these shoes? And they found an amazing actor to really fill in these shoes. So you're like, I don't know who's more scared, Game David or TV David.
Personally, I would say TV David, if only because the dimension that they gave him, which we will cover in a hot second, is fucking crazy, right? Because there are certain details that were mentioned in the show that were not mentioned in the game at all. And so, yeah, Van Gogh fucking scared. No, just kidding. But anyway, so we move on, and finally Ellie, which by the way, throughout the entire exchange, in the initial exchange where the deer is there and she's like, put your hands in the fucking, like, put your hands up, or I'll put a bullet between your eyes. I was like, baby girl, brace the rifle on your shoulder.
Right.
Where is that gonna go? You're going to drop that gun the moment you shoot it.
Yeah.
Like, baby girl, if you're gonna shoot someone, can you look like you're gonna kill someone? You're capable of killing someone.
Right.
And but that's the difference, right? Is like, she has never had to like actively kill somebody with a rifle like that, if anybody, right? Like, she really has not killed anybody up until that point. Like, Joel ended up killing the other guy, you know. Riley doesn't really count because at that point Riley was like bitten. It's not really her fault. Like, she has never taken a life of her own. So it makes sense. And I was like, girl, if you're gonna intimidate someone, could you do it
properly?
Someone a little bit better, like at least look like you know what you're doing. Because I was like, these two could like come up to you and you would be down.
Yeah.
You know. And I'm like, thank God. So then after that, you know, she runs back to Joel. She's like, Joel, wake up, they're coming for us, and I was like, damn, Joel, wake up. Wake up. And then like
Please.
we see like, please, and then like they go back for dinner, right? And she goes back to Joel.
Yeah.
And then they were like, we're gonna go get them. And this whole like little cult, I don't know about you, but this was culty. Like from the beginning I was like, this is very culty, because Troy Baker's character is like, he's like David to him is like, you should believe, and he's like, I do believe in God, and he's like, no. And I was like, religious trauma. I know what that looks like. I know what a cult looks like.
Oh, definitely.
You know, Enzo and I both know. And so and so I was like, ooh. And yeah, and with that, like, we move on. Is there, that whole scene was like really fucked, huh?
Yeah.
Like, how did you find that, Enzo? Like, tell me your thoughts on that, like, whole dinner scene after the this is venison.
I was just scared for David's followers. Like, please don't speak out of, instinct, or like, don't speak, defy him. He might kill you on the spot. Like the poor girl he slapped. Like, oh no.
In fairness, a part of me was annoyed because she was like, we should kill them. Because she was like, because the little girl, for context again, the little girl's like, finds out that the guy that killed her dad was like there, and she's like, we should kill them. Like, don't let them live. And like, he fully backhands the kid, and I'm like, ooh. I'm like, side eye, but I'm also like, kind of satisfying. I wish she didn't talk. I was like, I did not like that she was speaking that way, if only because, of course, I'm biased to Ellie and Joel.
Yeah.
But I'm also like, your dad was first. Your dad stabbed Joel first.
Right?
Is that his fault? Kasalanan niya ba yan? Parang ganon. I was like, was it his fault? No. For once, Joel defended himself.
Yeah.
Like, fully. And so I was like, okay. And then, like, in my head, I was like, this motherfucker, I don't know if anybody noticed this detail, but everybody else had a small portion, and then I was like, oh my god, everyone has a small portion, makes sense. But then you look at David, and he has like a big ass plate, and I'm like, I was like,
that's not
sir,
fair.
that is not leader behavior.
Yeah.
Like, that is not leader of a survival group behavior, because the leader, if anything, should be the one not eating as much, because he's gonna make. But then I was like, clearly culty behavior. Very culty behavior.
Also be their endless supply of human parts. So like, oh, okay, cool.
Well, I didn't know it at that point. I was just kind of like, it made me in my head think, like, after the fact, I was like, does he get the biggest portion because he believes he needs to be the one to eat the most, or does he do that, or does he get the most because nobody else wants to eat? So I'm like wondering in my head, but I feel like character-wise, the first one makes sense. Like the one where he's like, he is like a power tripper, and this is his way of like saying like, this is my shit. I'm like, it's just like everyone else starves except the leader. And so, that whole thing happens. And then we move on to like where they start looking for Ellie and Joel, right?
Oh yeah. I kind of laughed when poor Ellie eats shit when Troy Baker shoots the horse.
Yeah, she did. Actually, I was like, the way that Troy Baker is looking is even that, like, everyone else was missing, but I'm pretty sure he's gonna. And then that horse fully like eats shit, and then Ellie does, and I'm like, ooh, she's not okay. And then how did she get caught again? Like, she gets hit over the head. I forgot.
She's about to be executed by Troy Baker, and then
David stops them. She was. And then David's like, Doosh! And like, they're like, alive, and whatever. And they're like, what does he say? What does he say, Enzo?
I think something to the extent of like, find the guy and execute him. If you want justice, I'll bring back the girl to wherever.
Yeah. And I was like, oh. And like the moment she gets kidnapped, he's like, he comes back from the dead, like fully like he's not even like clear in the head. It's just everything that's running through his head is rage and penicillin. And which, mind you, was like not even done very well, because I was like, Ellie, baby girl, they really did not teach you this, huh? And I mean, you know what? Fair. I don't even know the right way, but I know that that's the wrong way for sure.
Inject penicillin to the wound. You're like, what are you doing?
Well, in fairness, would you know what you were doing?
No, that's what I would feel also.
We would both fail. Yeah. All three of us together would be like,
shit, the guy died because I didn't know. Oh well.
Oh well, you know what? At least she tried.
Yeah.
At least the penicillin is in his bloodstreams. At the very least, we got something, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, isn't penicillin like a vax. You know what? Is it really? What was she looking for specifically for infections? Right?
Yeah.
Is penicillin an antibiotic? Oh, it is. No, it makes sense. It is used to treat infections caused by bacteria. Makes sense. Anyway, so I was like, okay, so the penicillin is for that. All right. So I was like, anyway, whatever. And so we move on. Semantics. We move on, and I'm like, I hate this entire sequence. I hate the last third of this episode. I fully like. I wish I could like burn my mind of everything, because Ellie wakes up in a cage, and I was like, serial killer cage.
Yeah.
What were your feelings on like her there?
I already knew she was gonna be in the situation, but like it doesn't make it any less easier. Just either way, I'm like, I don't like this for Ellie.
Yeah, and I literally had to be like, I was like, oh fuck, I hate where this is going. And like the way their exchange, David and Ellie's exchange between each other, you do see that Ellie is a lot smarter. And this is the second time a character has fully told her, like, you are smart, you are a natural leader, you are the third, because technically it's Riley, David, and then the guy from her school.
Yeah.
And they're like, you're a natural born leader. And I was like, that's interesting, because each one of those times it's been told to her has been told differently, right? And it's like, did we forget that this girl is fucking 14 years old? I was like, I get that she's a natural born leader, but like, can she just not be a child? And she fully loses her childhood, like the way her chemicals changed after this episode. I was like, because I would be too, right? And I hate the way that he talks to her, where he's like, we can do, like, think about the things we could do. And like, he holds her hand, and I was like, get behind me, Ellie! Like, with a sword out, like, get behind me! Fuck you! I was like, and so don't react when I say this, but I was like, in the beginning, the first time I saw him, when he was like, I'm a teacher and a preacher, and I said, please don't be a pedophile, please don't be a pedophile. I was like, please, 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 please. I was like on my knees, like, please, 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 please.
Well, you got your answer.
Yeah, I do get my answer eventually, but like,
Again,
I was like,
themes that we're too familiar with, uncomfortably familiar with. Like, cool memes. Thanks, HBO.
yeah, I know. And I was like, the whole time, I was like, begging the Lord. I was like, fuck this dude. I was like, just Joel come, like, please. And Joel does come, because he fully like interrogates the shit out of these two dudes, and he's like fully 100% fueled by rage, penicillin, and whatever, and grogginess for looking for his surrogate daughter. And actually, I want to say this about something, by the way. I don't know if anybody has thought about this, so I had to pause the video. I paused the episode at this point, because I said, do you realize that, like, can you imagine this group of people hearing that a man who is capable of killing a number of people and getting away with it, because it's not normal to kill a lot of people. You know, like, yeah, you're in the apocalypse, but no one should be able to live after a certain number of attempts. If you think of the game, both infected and uninfected, the amount of people that Joel kills is actually almost mass murderer level of bad. Right? Like, don't we ever think about that? And I was like, the fact that this guy knows how to interrogate people multiple times, by the way, with the whole, if you don't point at the same place your buddy does, I'm going to kill the both of you. I was like, that's not something people should know how to do normally. And he's not the veteran. That's Tommy. Tommy's the veteran.
Or pop someone's kneecap with a knife. Like, how do you...
Exactly. Right? I was like... And I was like, this is the first time... I don't know about people, but like, I think The Last of Us was one of the first games, besides Bioshock, but that's a different way that they revealed it. But spoiler alert. But like, I think The Last of Us is the first time we ever see a character getting what is coming to them in regards to how often they're capable of ending people's lives. Because if you think about it, right, like it's not normal. It isn't. He is truly like fucking Terminator of the fucking apocalypse. Like,
yeah.
like that's not good. And I'm like, I get that. Oh, we want him to protect Ellie. Good on you. You're angry, but it's also like, this isn't normal. Like, if I was a I am a regular ass person in a group, and we find out that there is a man capable of wiping out entire communities. He brought down an entire QZ on his own. Well, kind of on his own, but like his group did. Of 4, 2 of them were children, by the way. Like, I would be terrified. I would want to knock Joel out because that's dangerous. And
Yeah.
this episode made me realize why it is. What was her name? Tommy and his wife. What was her name? Mary?
Maria?
Yeah, Maria. Mary, close enough. Like, I now understand why Maria was scared, because it does make sense. It's not normal to have a man traveling with a child while he murders a shit ton of people in their way, right? I get, again, like I said, I get it's the apocalypse, but still, no one should live through all of those encounters, much less be wiping communities out, you know?
Yeah. And the way he
So-
took out the last guy for just like sport, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah,
Wow.
I don't know about you. He was like, it's okay, I trust your friend. Boog. And it's like, I get it. I completely get it that I was rooting for him because I wanted him to save Ellie. I needed him to save Ellie. But also, I'm like, I was like, side eye, that's not good.
That's
You know, it's like,
that's straight up murder.
yeah. It's not even self-defense. See, that's the thing. At that point, it's not even self-defense.
Yeah.
At that point, it's not even self-defense. Fully breaking Geneva Conventions. Fully breaking the rules of war.
Oh,
Of
yeah.
warfare. You know? And so I was like, fuck. And so, you know, we move on finally to the encounter where Ellie... I don't know if you know this, and so I made this joke. Did you make the joke where it was like, show Ellie kills video game Joel?
I haven't heard that joke until now, but
Really? Oh
Yeah.
my god, that's the first joke I made. Because when Troy Baker showed up and he was like, it was him, David, and Ellie, I was like, what if like, show Ellie kills video game Joel? That'd be crazy. And then she does, in like the most like fucked up way ever, where she like cleavers him to the fucking like jugular.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh,
Then-
what?
the entire time I was like, why does James sound so familiar? Then I see that, I was like, alright, he's the NPC that eats shit.
He ate shit.
Yeah.
And he did fully, and I was like, dang, that's I don't know about that. That was really fucked. And so I was like, okay. And then she escapes. And mind you, again, really fucking smart. She didn't need to play. She didn't play to live. She played to play time. Because
Yeah.
she was like, I bit you. I'm infected. You know me. And then like, she buys herself enough time to like kill James and then like fuck off with David. But then and then the cabin scene. And I was like, where is this going? And I was like, I remember asking again, I'm watching this every week with a person that has played the game fully. And I said, how was this part of the game? Like, were she sneaking around? And my friend was like, this is terrifying. I hated it.
Yes.
I hated every moment of it.
Because again, you're like, I don't want to get eaten. And now you're like, I don't want things to happen to Ellie, period.
Yeah, period, right? And I was like, fuck. And so that whole scene happens. She gets caught. And I'm like, look, guys, I don't know about you. People that are excited for Get the Apocalypse, I'm happy for you. But as a woman, I am never fearful. I would rather die to hordes of infected. I would rather get eaten like Kingdom style by a giant like a wall, like a mound. I'd rather die like that than die to a man like David. or even live in a community with a David like that. Because that is terrifying. I am more scared of men and people than I am of infected. And I remember everyone kept saying, like, where's the infected? I want the infected back. I'm tired. And I feel like, I don't know about you, Enzo, but I feel like The Last of Us was one of the, and I'm emphasizing one of the first kinds of like zombie pieces of media that got really popular, that didn't just emphasize that it was the zombies that were dangerous, but in situations like this, it's the people that are the
Yeah.
most dangerous. And what do you think of that?
Yeah, that's always been the theme of The Last of Us, whether it's this one or the next game. It's like the thing you have to be worried about the most is always people and their intentions, whether or not you think they're on your side or not. It's just an ugly world. Like Edwin Drummer and I always said, like there are no heroes or villains in this world, but well, there are worse people in this world, but there are no heroes.
Yeah, for sure. And like, and that's the thing, right? Is that that's what I love about The Last of Us is that like you get to see truly like, I feel like it was one of the first pieces of media for me where it was like I truly understood what it meant where a world had no society, where society was what we made of it in pockets, like truly in vacuums. Because when there are no laws, when there are no people to keep other people in check, what do you do then, right? Like, what do you do when shit like that happens? And it was worse because apparently, according to my friend who was watching, they said they made David 10 times creepier because he never said that to her. He was like, I like it when they fight. And I went, so she's not the first? Ellie was not the first. And I was like, this man is a bad teacher! This man is a bad teacher of children her age! And it made you wonder, like, what was this man doing?
Yeah.
And like, yeah?
Cause I can't remember what he says in the game. I think he says something to the extent of like, "Oh, you have no idea what I'm capable of." You're like, what does that mean? That could mean anything. But here
Yeah,
it's
but
like
this one
more
was like,
point blank. Like, fuck, I don't want to watch this episode no more.
yeah, I mean, like, I knew I was gonna get broken by this episode, but I did not think I would get broken that badly. Especially considering, like, it's such a real reality for, me growing up, it was such a real reality. And, like, hearing the way Ellie, I feel like Ashley Johnson's Ellie was more angry and, like, tomboyish and angry, where it was, like, versus, like, Bella Ramsey's Ellie, who was a lot more fearful, because that is the scream. Like their screams are like incredibly potent, like so blood-curdlingly terrified. Like when Sam attacked Ellie initially, and then this moment where it's just like it's a primal like anger, fear, terror, like despair. Everything about it was just like, ooh. And like, I know that Ashley Johnson, again, does a really great Ellie, but there's something almost horror movie like watching Bella Ramsey's Ellie, because you truly see the trauma. It's like fully as if like that you saw the way the trauma affected her in the eyes. And I went, I hate it here. I really do. Because it's like, it's kind of an unspoken thing where we understand, like, you don't know who it could be, but you know it can happen, right? And it's like, there would have been no one to help her, right? And it's just like, fuck! But I want to know, Enzo, also, like, did he, like, after the fact, when you saw her, like, how did you feel about that part? You can, no, you don't have to go so deep into it, but, like, it's okay.
It's definitely stomach churning, or I was like, I don't feel so good after this. Because in the game, as you mentioned, it feels more cathartic. You're like, alright, good for Ellie. Fucking killing the fucking cannibal. But like here, it was like, I almost had like 1,000 yard stare of like, Jesus Christ, why did I have to make David so utterly terrifying? More than he was in the game.
Yeah, right? Like I was told, and like a lot of the talks about it online are like, David in the show was like a very different fear, whereas like you feared getting eaten, but it's just like you would be dead anyway, versus like here it was like an even like more like it's just as terrifying, if sometimes not even more terrifying reality, right?
Is it bad if I say their looks in the game and show make sense of what they are? Like David from the game, like that definitely is a crazy cannibal about to kill me, where here David in the show, you're like, yeah, he's a math teacher pedophile. Like,
no, that's the thing, right? And that's why I said like, don't laugh, Enzo, if you hear me say this, because it's the way I said, like, he looks like a fucking creep.
Yeah.
And everything about him was wrong. And I was like, and then the fact that I like begged in the beginning, the moment I saw him, I was like, please don't be a pedophile, please don't be a pedophile. And then I fully got my answer in like, I got my answer like slapped onto my face. And like, I also had the 1,000-yard stare where I was, and like my stomach sunk. Because it was just like, fuck, this is exactly what I would probably look like if I was in that situation. And it's just like, I'm tired. Like, by the end of it, I was like, I want it to be over, but a part of me is also like, that was a really brilliant episode. Especially, God bless, when she runs out and I remember feeling everything for her. And then when Joel like takes her by the shoulder and she's screaming her mind out because she's just so out of it. And then Joel, God bless, like somebody put it side by side where like Ashley Johnson's Ellie fully finishes the line, whereas Bella Ramsey doesn't even finish it. Like she gets cut off by her own fear, and he like fully, and then like Joel from both sides hug her and are like, "It's okay, baby girl, I'm here." I was like the relief. Like I was like, they have found their person. She has fully found, and when I mean person, I don't mean romantic person. I mean like she has found her safe place again. I was like, who? You know, it's like you can't hate Joel for doing what he did to find Ellie, but you can abhor the actions. But to a certain extent, it's like he because of what he did, he was able to find her, you know? And it was just like, I had all those feelings in my head where it was like, God bless, I'm so happy to see him, but God, I hope Ellie never finds out what he did to get to her, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just like, how did you feel, Enzo, in that moment?
It definitely felt different from the first time I saw the scene where it's like, oh cool, Ellie's safe. They can move on now. Here, I honestly went blank for a bit. So I'm like, I don't know what to think. Because it was a very hard scene to watch. So I'm like, jeez, can we just go on to the last episode?
Yeah,
And
I'm like, I want my mushrooms back, please.
So can I just have Nolan North back, please?
Yeah. And it's just like, I think that's really the show. It's great that the show really emphasizes the monsters aren't the monsters. Actually, if anything, the monsters are the more merciless part of dying too. The more merciful way of dying, because you know, it's like you get bitten once, it's over. Versus like, you know, this feels like it could have been a prolonged hell for Ellie, and no one would have been there to save her. You know, and that's the scary reality. Is like, you may not have seen what could have happened to her, but you know that everything shitty that you could think of probably could happen, and you don't even want to think about that. And that's why it's so fucked up. It's like, that's why I keep saying, like, I would rather die in the beginning to the hordes than even try to live a post-apocalypse world, you know, as a woman. You know? And you know, that's just this shitty reality, but also, fuck, she's a child. 14. When I was 14, I was screaming over K-pop boys. I can't imagine this kind of right? But yeah, how about you, Enzo?
I just thought of something. Like, even the way they revealed that they were kind of a bit more horrifying than in the game. Because in the game...
Yeah, because it was the bodies, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about the bodies?
Yeah, also, like, she discovers an ear, where in the game, they're just, like, casually chopping up some guy. You're like, oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, but here it was like, I feel like this was truly like a horror episode.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't even action. This isn't even drama. This was fully just horror through and through. And it doesn't even look like your usual horror movie. And like, I remember like when Joel finds the dead bodies that they like hang as if like pigs corpses.
Yeah.
I was like, ah! I was like, whoa, oh god, fully like jump scared as if I was in a horror game itself, right?
Yeah. And like, again, stomach churning, where like, I don't remember feeling this way back in 2013.
Yeah,
don't like it that
exactly.
much.
And I think sorry?
I don't like it that much.
I don't think anyone should.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, I appreciate it for what it does, but I'm also like, I hate this here. I hate it here. And I keep thinking to myself, like everything about this episode just like, it's such a brilliant episode because there were so many layers to it in terms of like, there were the layers of like morality in regards to like we finally see, how do I see, like with the little girl initially, who looked to be at least Ellie's age, right? Having lost her dad, like you fully see the consequences of like just a random NPC dying, right?
Yeah.
But when you think of it in the context of like if you were in that world, that is somebody's father, brother, son, you know? And like this theme will be very prevalent in the second season, I'm pretty sure. You know, and it's like something that I kind of appreciated about it is that to a certain extent, Joel's choices are finally getting back to him. Joel's choice of killing people the way that he does, at the frequency that he does, it really does come to bite you in the ass, because how often in video games and shows do we like glorify somebody fully like murdering people and killing and wiping people out and not getting their desserts because, you know, they're the main character. But in reality, it's like every grunt or NPC that's killed is somebody important to someone else in circumstances that they probably didn't want to find themselves in the first place, right? And I was like, fuck, I hate it here. And then like, but then like you can't blame Joel for being so angry, because if he did not save her at the time that she did, you know, if he did not find her, what would have happened to Ellie, right? Like he didn't save her, she fully did it on her own, but like if he wasn't there to calm her down, what would have happened to her if she wandered the woods, right?
Yeah.
You know, so it's like so many fucked up things, but it's like so many gray areas, you know? And in the end of it, like I was just like at the end of it, I was like, I'm tired. I'm gonna go rest now. Woo! And then last episode of the season. Woo! We're fully closing it on, everybody.
Yeah, I'm fully nervous for it, sir, because I know what happens. So I'm like, huh, consequences. Cool.
Consequences, cool. Oh my god, consequences for the. Oh my god, the consequences of my actions have consequence. But like, and when it's like I told you, Enzo, surprisingly, somehow, David made the cannibalism part of this episode the least worrying thing to think about. Somehow that was the least like the least traumatizing things. But you know, it's like saying 100% traumatization is not any better than is better than 200% traumatization.
I had, before this episode came out, I had a week of like, well, you know, just revisiting the past in some form. So when this episode came out with like religious bullshit, I was like, oh cool, what a way to end my week. Amazing.
I know. Sorry. But like I have to ask, so at this point I think, Enzo, like we can wrap it up then.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts and or prayers,
Or
violent reactions?
No. Pretty good episode. One I'll probably never watch again, for obvious reasons. But like, it's pretty good. How about you?
Nothing. I feel like I've said everything I needed to say. I feel like I will soon be talking about something with Enzo post episode in regards to season 2 / Last of Us 2. But I think at the end of it, I'm gonna leave it there and just be like, I hope you guys enjoyed the review and our discussion. Let us know what you think in the comments in regards to the episode itself, as well. Is there anything that, you know, you'd like to talk about with us? We'd love to hear it in your comments down below. Like and subscribe, as well as Enzo, plug where else they can find us.
Well, you can also find us at Spotify and TikTok to see our best and funniest moments, Spotify to hear us on the go. Individually, you can find me at Yandolphus995 on Twitter. How about you?
You can find me at 9_na on Twitter and Instagram. So thank you so much, everybody. And I hope you tune in with us for All Cut Up next week with the last and final episode. And maybe we'll do a post episode and talks about our thoughts for predictions for season 2. So yeah, thanks everybody. And we hope to see you guys soon. Bye.
Bye.